I'm going to get into that because in my section, I'm talking about animals and how they experience grief and that we're not that unique. Everyone just needs to like we're not that special and unique as humans. Animals also have the capacity to show grief, so we're not that separate. And I think the fact that we try to like superiorize ourselves and like separate
Mhm.
ourselves to the extent that we do is like why we have such a hard time feeling empathy for each other.
Uh,
It's like we're not that different from every other animal that exists. So
wow.
yeah, crazy. And yeah, so as you're saying, dealing with loss and sudden loss, especially, can be extremely hard to process. We've talked about this in previous episodes and explored how grief is not linear as an experience, nor does it always follow the stages of grief. As if you Google grief, they're like, here are the
Yeah.
stages of grief. And you're like, okay, but like, what if I experience it differently? And it's like, that's totally fine. No one, it's not linear. You can be fine for 10 years and then you see someone that kind of looks like that person and you're crying in a Starbucks.
Yep.
So it really, you don't know. You just kind of go. You go about life and that's just what it is. So in Totally Fine, we're given like a window into this experience as Vanessa's dealing with this and like quirky aliens wearing your friend's skin time. And it's fairly emotional and funny, but as I kind of said, I've been dealing with this very recently, so I'm not going to get big sad today. We're going to talk about something fun.
Mm, totally fine. And
Yeah.
allow.
So since we've talked about grief previously, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to end up talking about, but then Gabe had the great idea. What if we talked about animals that are experiencing grief?
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. And I was like really surprised by the information I was able to get. I was like, oh, that's actually super interesting. So yeah, instead of getting big sad here, we're going to talk about why aliens would want to investigate humans, or why we think that, like why we think we're so cool, and how animals experience grief. Because I don't know, I feel like maybe aliens would come here and then they'd probably like talk to people other than just people.
hmm
They would talk to all the species that live on our planet because we're not that special.
Yeah. If they could
Um,
talk to us, they would be figure out a way to talk to dolphins. And they'd be like,
Yeah,
what the heck?
100%. That's what mermaids are. Those are the underwater humans. They're just as gross as we are, and
They're
also
yeah,
smart,
scary.
complex, sad, whatever. Like every creature on this planet has the capacity for emotions, even trees. Like when
Yeah.
trees are dying,
Yes.
they give all their nutrients to the surrounding trees as a send off. And then all the other trees are like, oh my God, now we have more nutrients because that tree sacrificed itself. That, if
Yeah.
that is an emotional something, I don't know.
They let out like plants let out like vibrations if they feel threatened. Like that's super
Yeah,
real.
the happening might happen one day. And
It could
I'm
happening
It could happening.
to
Even
us.
if it's a very ridiculous movie that is like
Yeah. That you
famously
love so
not
much.
liked. I love that film because I see nature as alive. So
Mhm.
here we are. As you can see, as we're going into this, I already have a preconceived bias. So take that as you will. So I read an article called "Do Animals Experience Grief?" A growing body of evidence points to how animals are aware of death and will sometimes mourn or ritualize their dead by Jessica Pierce.
So cool.
They kind of go into this really interesting analysis of humanity and how there's a reason why we don't study the way animals mourn very much. And it's because we think we're hot stuff and are better than everything, because that's like our only way of rationalizing our existence. And that's fine, whatever people got to do to experience life. What is interesting to me about this article is the attention drawn to the skepticism of human scientists at the possibility that animals experience grief. And it seems that many feel that to admit animals experience grief would lower the status of humans and eliminate the one thing that makes us truly unique. And like to that, I say, like, we make robots and science stuff. Like that makes us unique too. I don't see squirrels doing that. So like why does it have to be emotional empathy that makes us the most unique thing? It's like it could
Yeah.
be that we like built stuff and that's cool too.
Yeah.
Uh but we don't have to have the superiority complex game where we're like, we're not even going to look at it, because if we realize that animals have the capacity to feel, that like we're going to have to feel bad for all the animals we murdered.
Yep.
But here we are. It's stated in the article that the reason there's so little research about animal grief is because humans are not yet ready to look at the possibility that we're not so different. Scientists haven't yet turned serious attention to the study of what might be called comparative thin thanatology, which is the study of death practices and those things associated with it. And this is perhaps because most humans fail to even entertain the possibility that animals might care about the death of those they love. Awareness of mortality has remained, for many scientists and philosophers alike, a bastion of human perceived uniqueness.
Mm.
To accept that animals have the capacity to grieve and mourn in a way that is as complex as humans would have many implications and would impact humanity's overall feeling of superiority. It is also one of the main things that is embedded into the definition of what it means to be human, humanity, or personhood. The capacity to feel complex emotions and grief is what people claim as their humanity that puts them above animals. And it would make sense then that scientists would be hesitant to even explore the possibility of such emotions existing in animals. But some have. So that's what I'm going to get into. There are scientists that have explored this, and the ones that are skeptical about the capacity of animal emotion are basically like, we can't admit that this is real. And also, it's like, it's all based on human interpretation, and that is valid. We're applying our own understandings, biases, and emotional feelings onto these animals. We can't read their minds. We don't have the ability to communicate the way with them in the ways that would give us these answers. So it is like interpretation, but that is kind of what science is.
Yeah.
You're looking at something, you're making a hypothesis, and you're trying to prove it.
Yep.
So here we are.
There.
The article continues to outline a few animal species that have or seem to have rituals or emotional and physical responses to loss. This includes elephants, chimpanzees, magpies, peccaries, which is a type of wild pig, and crows, as well as other animals that I found in other articles. So, other animals that have been shown evidence of grief that aren't highlighted in that specific article are also dogs, cats, dolphins, giraffes, possibly turtles, bison, and various bird species,
Hmm.
specifically ducks. Um,
Hmm.
I love ducks, so that is lovely for me. It seems many animals have the capacity to react to death in ways that are not fully understood by humans, and that they hold some form of funeral or mourning in response. They've also studied the brains and like neural responses
Hmm.
of, I believe, chimps and other animals, specifically to see if cortisol and stress hormones are released during the experience of grief and like how that impacts their physiology, like how their
Hmm.
bodies respond, because that's like what it means to grieve is that you're having an internal response, and then mourning is your like external acting of that
Hmm.
response. So they do have indications that would suggest that animals do have the capacity to react to death in ways that are physical and emotional and also outward, in that they hold rituals that suggest like funerals and stuff like that. We don't know if that's exactly what they're doing, but it looks like it. So, we're interpreting how we see. And it seems that animals experience both inward grief and outward mourning. The article outlines instances of this, specifically with elephants and their response to loss. They say that elephants, for example, are known to take great interest in the bones of their deceased and to mourn dead relatives. One of these vivid ritual explorations of bones was caught on video in 2016 by a doctoral student studying elephants in Africa. That members of three different elephant families came to visit the body of a deceased matriarch, smelling and touching and repeatedly passing by the corpse.
Oh,
There's
wow.
also instances of them mourning like the loss of a baby elephant,
Mm.
and having similar like care for the body and like trying to rationalize what has taken place, and that there's like evidence that they've had rituals of like mourning surrounding that. And it's also like the care that's given to the body, specifically by like mother elephants, like
Mm.
mourning the loss of their babies, that they like stay with the body and take care of it even after the loss of life.
Mhm.
Chimpanzees are also said to have a response to grief and mourning. This can be seen by like the presumed care that the chimps will like exhibit towards the corpse, as well as like through anger. So it really depends on like what the relationship was or the like cause of death. Uh, that impacts how they deal with their grief or loss. And their healing from the loss stems from their social relationships with other chimpanzees, specifically like through time and interacting with other chimps. They actually did like a testing of their cortisol release, and that it goes down over time, and the more they interact with other chimps to like as distractions and like community care kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, chimpanzees have also been repeatedly observed in engaging in death related behaviors. In one case, a small group of captive chimpanzees was carefully observed after one of their members, an elderly female named Pansy, died. The chimpanzees checked for Pansy's body for signs of life and cleared bits of straw from her fur. They refused to go to the place where Pansy had died for several days afterward. And in
Hmm.
a different article titled The Truth About Animal Grief, they speak about Jane Goodall's witnessing of the young chimps presumably dying of a broken heart after the passing of
Oh.
their mother. And they say that a most dramatic case in 1972, Jane Goodall witnessed a young male chimp named Flint die just a month after the death of its mother, Flo. The male was so despondent following her death that he stopped eating or socializing to the point that he just simply did not survive.
Hmm.
In another instance, scientists documented a chimpanzee using a tool to clean a corpse in 2017. Specifically, a team of primate researchers in Zambia filmed a mother using a piece of dried grass to clean debris from the teeth of her deceased son. The implication being that, according to scientists, that chimpanzees continue to feel social bonds even after death and feel some sensitivity towards dead bodies of loved chimps lost. There's lots of indication that mammals specifically experience this the most. And there are
Hmm.
countless other examples of animals exhibiting mourning rituals that suggest that humans are not the only species to be able to experience grief or complex emotions. And the question that follows is, if animals have the capacity for complex emotions, would we be the first choice of aliens to study when visiting our planet? And I say no. I also found like other instances where they discuss like crows, like literally having funerals,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
having like it could be interpreted as a funeral in that they like surround the body and like call around it.
Mhm.
But they've also said that it could be that they're investigating the murder because they're like, oh, there's so much happening. We got to make sure that everyone else is still safe. So maybe it's not mourning as like a funeral, but it could be that they're like investigating what happened to figure out if the area that they're in is still safe, which both are like pretty complex as
Yeah.
reactions.
Investigating the murder of a member of their murder.
Exactly. And yeah, so there's examples of magpies burying their dead under twigs and grass, which they've described as a funeral. There's also where an 8-year old boy caught footage of peccaries, which is the wild pig, that responded to their dead herd mate and like basically visited the body repeatedly, nuzzling it, biting it, as well as sleeping next to it to figure out what was
Mm.
going on. There's evidence that ducks have the capacity to mourn their losses. There was like an incident, or not incident, an instance of a duck laying on the body of one of its lost loved ones for 2 days, just like laying on it,
Mm.
just like not understanding that it was gone. So it's, and then like there's like countless stories of dogs and cats doing this, like not being able to be removed from like the bodies of owners and being
Mhm.
like really sad or depressed, or even like cats cuddling with the toys or favorite sleeping spot of other cat that had
Mhm.
passed, and like expressing grief symptoms and mourning outwardly. So yeah, I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting to see that there are many animals that have the capacity to like mourn people,
Mhm.
and that, you know, if that's like our claim to fame, maybe that shouldn't be, because it seems like we're not the only animal with the capacity to feel grief and sadness.
Mhm.
And
Because it's
also
gonna
whales,
happen.
I think, also had a instance of that where they like carried the dead calf for like weeks, just like with
Mhm.
them. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the documentary Blackfish,
mhm,
there's like a whole exploration of that. Like whales feel more emotions than humans. Like it's they have like specific emotions that we just don't have words for or understanding of, and it's very complex. And it was just like this really heartbreaking thing for them to be so emotionally evolved and be in captivity and like feel loss and like it's specifically talking about like when they would take the babies to put them into SeaWorld and the moms would like even when they were taken from in during captivity, if a mom had a baby and they took the baby, the mom would just like stop eating, and just like cry, like just wail. The whale would wail, and
Mhm.
like, you know, injure itself because it was just so distraught. And it's like, yeah, they definitely
Yeah,
do.
they have the capacity for emotions and loss and grieving, and that's not our only. We're not that cool. That's all.
No.
That's all I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that like to not look at it is very convenient, and that's why people don't. They're like, oh, it'd be really inconvenient to have to take accountability for all that murder.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna do that. I
Yeah.
really like chicken nuggets, so you
Well, that's
know,
why, like, you know, the book "Tender Is the Flesh" I told you about, Cat. That was
yeah.
like a really big popular thing because people were like, "Oh, it's just so horrific," and absolutely it is. Like, I'm not saying it's not. It is very horrific, but there was so much of it that I was like, it's not like I'm already horrified about these things happening to animals. That when you like, the twist is like we now are doing this to humans, and now people care, right?
Well, that's the
Now we're
entire thing
like,
of Promise Neverland too, where it's like,
yeah.
oh, now humans are the cattle.
Oh, now
Yeah,
we have to care. Or like
yeah.
the that clone film,
Oh, The
The
Island.
Island.
Yes, I
Yeah.
loved that movie growing up.
Yeah. That was like
Yes.
our first or second video episode was about the island,
Yeah.
and talking about clones. But yeah, it's literally like you switch out these practices that we have with animals like slaughterhouses or just like complete disrespect and abuse of animals, and you just swap it out with a person. Now all of a sudden people are
Oh,
like,
suddenly we
wait.
care. Yeah.
And then it's also
Oh.
like we also treat people pretty badly too. And then you're like, okay,
Oh
swap it
yeah,
out with
yeah,
someone you
yeah.
care about, and now you
Any
care. Like, you
any
know?
zombie scenario is like, oh yeah, remember how awful humans are.
Yeah.
You don't even need zombies for humans to be awful. War,
Mm,
genocide. And
yeah.
there's a long
Just
list. Just
existing.
existing. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Capitalism, patriarchy,
yeah, all of
um,
it.
all of it.
Yeah.
There's just so much humans being trash. And it's just like, yeah, they have to act like we're better in
Mhm.
order to rationalize like what the world is. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, maybe it's just like we aren't that great, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
But
It's
even
your
in
responsibility to be good. You have to make
yeah.
good choices. It's a choice. It's an active
Yeah.
effort. It's
Yeah.
not inherent.
And yeah, like kind of going off of like this idea of like we're not special, animals do it too, is like even in our cruelty, like the things that we do that are really evil, animals also do evil things.
Oh,
Like
100%.
dolphins are
Yeah.
like super evil,
Dolphins?
otters super evil. Like otters are like the
Mhm.
most evil. They're so cute, absolutely cute, very evil.
Yeah.
So you like see these things and it's like we're not even, that's not even unique to us. Like we're not even cool for that. But the whole like we can make things, like we can build, but it's like
Yeah.
beavers build really cool stuff all the time. We're not that cool, man. Like,
Yeah. We're just another animal on this planet.
yeah,
And does that suck that hard? I don't think it does. I think it just means
no,
like, cool, be good to the planet.
yeah,
Be good to the
put
people
some
around you.
respect.
Be good to the animals. Just
Yeah,
don't be made of garbage. It's a
don't
wild
be an
concept.
otter.
Yeah. And it's just like you have to actively make good choices to be a good person, and that's fine.
Yeah,
That's if anything that makes the most sense.
like that's literally all you can control. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, this nurture versus nature situation. It's like,
Yeah. And if you were
be
awful
good.
yesterday, be good tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
All you
There's
can
no
do.
like black and white about that, you know?
Yeah.
But
Existence
yes.
is hard.
It's very, I'm really glad that you went into animals and their grief because I think it's an interesting topic, and I like this idea that like if aliens came, they probably like Vanessa was probably one of many creatures that
Mhm.
these alien species that we don't know the name of,
We're
we don't even know
investigating.
what Jennifer's real name is, like the alien her,
Mhm.
is just like, whoa, like we
Yeah.
don't have emotions, but have you seen these chickens? Like they have a whole thing, you know, like, and I think that's like pretty rad and an interesting kind of step into grief and what like the pedestal that we can put it on too.
Yeah.
It's not that unique. Losing someone
Yeah.
is sad, no matter who and what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be hard, you know?
It's totally fine to not be totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thesis of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not fine, and you gotta be not fine sometimes. And that's how you get better, is
Hmm.
dealing with the fact that you're not fine. You gotta look at it. Otherwise, you're just going and going and going. And eventually, you have all this unresolved stuff. and you hurt people by accident.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And yeah, and it, like you said, it looks different for everyone too. I remember when I lost my grandfather, like it didn't really hit me until I was like weeks later and I was at school and
mm,
I heard a laugh that kind of sounded like his laugh and I lost it. And I was like, whoa,
yeah.
wait,
I
I've
was
not went through
fine.
this.
Yeah, we were good. What do you mean?
I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. No, it's like so complex and there's just so many different ways. Like there's no universal way to go through it. So you just gotta go through it however you go through it. And you're a crylat probably. Either now or in 20 years. I don't know.
Hmm. Or
Different
however you
experiences
do it.
though. Yeah. You're gonna punch some stuff, that's fine. As long
Yeah.
as it's not a human, I guess. Or an animal.
Hmm.
Don't do that. Walls
Punch
are
a
cool.
wall. Yeah.
Punch some
Punch a
walls.
wall, whatever. Destroy property. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. It'd be like, what? Isn't that what happened with where the red fern grows? Didn't like one dog go and lay or just went away to die or something because another dog died? It's been a long time. That was middle school. I read that, but I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah. You know, like that is like a thing.
Yeah.
Lots isolating is a common thing too. And that's like something that inhibits your healing as well.
And that's what
Um,
she did. She was like, "Yeah, I'll go to this house
I'm
all by
totally fine. No one
myself."
talks about it. I'm just gonna go over here far away.
Yeah, and when, like, the sister like, when she called, Jennifer's sister and Jennifer was like, "How are you doing?" Like, trying to, like, talk to her, she
Yeah.
immediately shut it off, like, "I do not want to do that," and then, like, like, "We're not," and it's like, "No, no, no, hun."
Yeah.
Like, her sister probably needs you too, because like, no one's gonna feel the same things, or at least close
Yeah.
enough than her sister, because you were like her sister, so
Yeah. It was
but
a
I get
really
it, I
real
get it.
movie. You watch it, you'll probably feel a lot of things. And if you feel ready for that, do it.
Yeah.
Because I would recommend it. It was a good movie.
Mhm.
Even if I was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable that I feel sadness.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel this way right now. I was having a good Saturday or whatever day it was when we watched it. But it's okay. You just got to feel it sometimes. Gotta let it
Mm, I'm sorry.
come in, go out. You felt it too. It's fine.
I did.
That's
I
what
was
life is.
tearing up. It was the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do it. Highly recommend the film. And let us know what you think. Give us, rate and review as you do. Let us know in the comments how you feel about the film. If you seen a film that's similar to this, if you have some facts about animals and grief, we'd love to hear about those.
Yeah.
Um, anything like that. And stay tuned. We have one more episode in our Tainted Love series, and then we're on to the next thing because
That's what we
days
do.
start coming and they don't stop coming. They don't
They
stop
don't stop
coming.
coming. They don't.
Don't
They just,
stop
they just
coming
keep go.
is what is
Yeah.
until
You
they do, and then you're like,
You
oh,
wake up and you're
dang
just
it.
like, wow, okay, we gotta go. And then just stops eventually, as you said, Kate. Yes.
Yeah.
One day
Yeah.
you're just not no more. And you're
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you go after? I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's for later
Never.
me to deal with.
All I know is what I'm doing right now. So
Yeah.
it's all I can guarantee. So prepare now for the future because we're all gonna do it. Okay, we're
Yeah.
all sorry. All right. You're
Yeah.
not
And I mean it's a
unique.
kindness for the people you got otherwise to prepare for it.
Hmm.
You know? And if you don't like those people, fine, don't do it. I don't care. No, it's not I mean, but like if if you want it to be a better time, the
Yeah.
government is coming for your resources otherwise they make it really hard. So highly recommend making a will. It's just
Yes.
a cool thing.
All right. Well, don't get married.
Like your kids.
Yep. Okay. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's it. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.